You've heard of 4K Ultra HD, but is it really that much better than a good old Blu-ray? Let's find out and join me as I explore the world of ultra high definition movie watching and see if the jump from Blu-ray to 4K is worth it for you. So if you're watching something like the brand new Sinners 4K that just came out, this is also available on Blu-ray. So what's the difference between the 4K and the Blu-ray here? You're getting a better picture quality, you're getting better audio fidelity here, and you're also, well, if in the case of this edition, you're just getting the 4K, but in some cases you do get the Blu-ray included with the 4K, which is always nice. But here, from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, you're just getting the 4K. So the difference here is comprised of just kind of the picture quality between the two. If you're watching it on a 4K television, you're going to be able to tell the difference between a 4K picture and a 1080p picture on a Blu-ray. If you're not, well, then you're not. You're just going to be getting a 1080p picture. So all of this really depends on you having a 4K monitor or a 4K television to watch your 4K movie on. You also have to have a 4K player, otherwise you won't be able to play the 4K. That kind of goes without saying. If you're that new, that beginner into this sort of hobby of collecting into 4Ks or Blu-rays, that's the biggest difference that you're going to run into. But you're going to run into the impact of the 4K resolution. And on a movie that's older, that's not Sinners, but something that might be coming to 4K pretty soon, that's Big Trouble in Little China from Scream Factory. This is a John Carpenter film. They haven't put this one out on 4K, but something is telling me that they might put it out on 4K. But this one would definitely benefit from a 4K restoration, a 4K transfer. The other thing with Blu-rays that you're going to run into if you don't want to buy the 4K, because that's one of the big detractors of 4K, is that something like Sinners here, again, is pretty expensive when it comes out on 4K. It runs between $30 or $40 depending on the 4K. If you're getting something from a boutique label like Scream Factory or Vinegar Syndrome, it's going to be more than that. That price difference does make the difference for certain people. You can get 2 Blu-rays for the price of 1 4K a lot of the time. So if you're doing stuff like that and you're budgeting, that might be something to consider, is that 4K does cost more. If you're looking at something like the recent Criterion Collection sale at Barnes & Noble, the 4Ks are $5 more. They're $10 more if you're not taking into account that 50% off discount. So you can get more bang for your buck with Blu-ray, but with 4K and older films, really, this is where it separates itself. A Blu-ray of an older film as opposed to a 4K of something. So we've got the Universal Classic Monsters box set here. This is the Blu-ray box set. You can't get all of these 30 classic films on 4K, but you can get certain ones on 4K, and they look magnificent. They look beautiful. They look like a whole brand new movie. So if you want to watch Dracula or The Wolfman or The Mummy in 4K, you can pick up the 4K that Universal put out of this collection, or the smaller version of this collection. But there are certain movies that you're just not going to get on 4K because the cost is too much for a studio to put out. You can't all have places like Vinegar Syndrome that pay a bunch of money and do a bunch of work on older movies. That's just not feasible. So you're going to end up getting stuff where you have movies that are only available on Blu-ray that aren't available on 4K. So that is a point for Blu-ray, I guess you could say there. So a point for Blu-ray here would be really that if you're looking at something and it says like, oh, it's a 4K transfer from the original camera negative or whatever, that is just they're going through and they're upscaling it to 4K and making it so that there's a 4K version of it. A lot of Blu-rays, especially older ones, especially Scream Factory, boutique labels and stuff like that, they did 2K restorations of these films. We just skipped over 2K. There was no disc format for that. But a 2K restoration of a film is still going to look beautiful on your TV, on your big TV, on a 4K TV. So looking at something like that with a Blu-ray versus a 4K, if there is no 4K, well then the Blu-ray is going to work out for you. And if you're looking at it between the two on pricing, well, sometimes that 4K difference isn't that big for a 4K versus a 2K transfer. So you really have to look and do your research on picture quality, the fidelity, all of that. For 4K, the biggest thing that I can say that is a detractor for 4K transfers and 4K movies in general is the fact that these companies are using AI upscalers now. They are using AI to upscale the footage from its normal camera negative up to 4K. James Cameron did it with True Lies, Aliens, and The Abyss. Peter Jackson did it with Get Back, the Beatles documentary that he did. They put them through these AI upscalers, and they end up losing a lot of the graphical fidelity of the image. You end up scrubbing out either the film grain, and this isn't something that they've only done for 4K. They used to do this for Blu-rays as well with digital noise reduction. If you've ever seen the Predator Ultimate Hunter Edition or Patton, one of the first editions on Blu-ray, they scrubbed the film grain out of the actual image. And if you don't know, film grain is what makes the film have definition. It makes it have that detail in the background and the foregrounds and of the faces. And if you go back and you look at screenshots of the Predator Ultimate Hunter Edition or Patton or anything like that, people look waxy to a degree of like almost looking like a mannequin. True Lies and Aliens and The Abyss and other AI upscaled footage looks like that a bit. It takes away some of the detail in their face because it realizes, oh, that's not something you want to see. If you were taking a 4K video of me right now, you would notice it would scrub out, you know, I have bags under my eyes or whatever. It would take that out, and it would take out the detail on my old hat. It would do stuff like that, and that's, from a film preservation standpoint, bad because, well, we want the best possible image quality, but we want to retain the original image. So if you're looking at something between 4K and Blu-ray, that's really the biggest point that I can make here, is that you have to do the research on it. And 4K versus Blu-ray, there's price involved, there's Dolby Atmos, there's Dolby Vision that makes the films look amazing, but that costs more money. So if you're looking at this as a collector from a budgetary standpoint, like I did with the most recent Criterion Collection sale, it made sense if I was going to buy 8 Criterion Collection films that some of them I would just get on Blu-ray if I didn't really care, or if the store was out of stock. In the case of Sorcerer, I ended up getting the Blu-ray over the 4K, but I'm not that broken up about it because of the fact that the Blu-rays still look fantastic, and a lot of them are from 2K scans, and so getting that extra difference between 2K and 4K really isn't that big of a difference for me. But for you, that might be different. For people out there that really are graphical fidelity people that love seeing the best possible image, the best, biggest possible quality on their screens, well, then you'll be able to get something like that, and you'll be able to show off exactly how your sound system and your stereo system and all of that and your TV, and you can just get the best possible. So for a lot of people, it's really going to be the weighing the investment and discussing the cost difference between the Blu-ray and the 4K, because there is a long-term upgrade. We're not going to get to 8K. 8K is a faraway dream here. We're not even getting most TVs in 8K. So if you're looking at 4K and Blu-ray, you're going to have plenty of time between then to decide on what you really want. And so you can get your enjoyment out of it whether you like Blu-rays or 4Ks or whatever. So in the case of Sinners, I ended up getting the 4K because it was a movie that I loved, that I wanted to see in that best possible picture quality, and it also included the IMAX version of it that had the different changes between aspect ratios. For Sinners, that's a very specific sort of thing that I wanted out of this movie. But for other movies, like Big Trouble in Little China, I had no problem buying the Blu-ray again because, well, if the 4K comes out, it's not going to be that much more revolutionary, and I'm not going to feel bad if I just have the Blu-ray over the 4K because I love this movie, and so it won't feel that bad if the 4K comes out next week. In other cases, it might not, but that's really what it comes down to between 4K and Blu-ray, is if you want the best possible picture quality, you go with the 4K. If you want a little bit of cost savings, you go with the Blu-ray. Nowadays, that's even less so because 4Ks go on sale all the time, but for brand new stuff, you might end up paying a little bit more if you're trying to get the 4K. But that's just from me. That's my experience with Blu-rays versus 4Ks. What is your experience with Blu-rays and 4Ks? Let me know in the comments what you think, what your favorite format is. If you have more 4Ks than Blu-rays now, if you have more Blu-rays than 4Ks, whatever. If you have more DVDs, let me know in the comments what you think about this and what you think about this video. And if you want to know more about how I'm rebuilding my collection after the Eaton fire, yes, I lost my entire physical media collection. What I have behind me is my entire physical media collection now. So if you're trying to figure that out and you're trying to learn more about that, check out this video right here. It's been 6 months since I lost my entire collection, and I went through to try to find the joy in collecting again.